Welcome to Namaste Today, the peaceful way to start your day. I'm your host and spiritual life coach, Sensei Christopher Witecki. This audio blog is for Wednesday, December 21st, 2016. Welcome, my soul family, and Namaste. Today, Step 0 rules the day. It's the first day of winter, and it's the first day of Capricorn. And Step 0 always feels a bit wonky. I always tell people to expect to feel the unexpected. You're going to feel like a stranger in a strange land. It's not you, it's the transitional energy. Whenever we're in a Step 0, we're actually changing from 1 degree to another. In fact, 0 is so powerful. That's going to be today's topic in our tea time, the power of Step 0. But first, let's take a listen to today's moodcast and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is for Wednesday, December 21st, 2016. Today I predict cloudy, overcast, and feeling funky today. That's because Step 0 rules the day. We're in transition between Sagittarius and Capricorn. The moon is in tip-topsy Libra, and today Mars is plowing ahead in Pisces. Let's probe deeper on the planets. Well, today, my friends, is Step 0 of Capricorn. And Capricorn is really the consciousness that makes decisions, what I call I decide energy. And if you haven't heard the news, Mercury is retrograde, which means we are rethinking this sector of consciousness as we grow it. So it's literally kind of like designing the house as you build it. What are we redesigning? Well, we're making new decisions about all sorts of aspects of our life. First of all, we'll be making decisions about how we interact with people. That will be the first 5 or 7 days of the transit. So how should we interact? What are the rules with other people, etc.? But then in that week between Christmas and New Year's, we'll be actually rethinking some of the major decisions in our own life, decisions about ourselves, what our actions are, and eventually where our spiritual calling is. In fact, believe it or not, spiritual calling seems to be the greatest energy on the planetary scale. That's because Mars has moved into Pisces. And not only has it moved into Pisces, but Mars is conjuncting the ruling planet of Pisces, Neptune. The way Sensei interprets this is that Mars, our actions, what we're supposed to do, is telling us to head directly and do not pass go, but to head directly for our spiritual calling, Neptune. And Neptune is at Step 9, so it literally is our spiritual calling, what we're meant to do spiritually, what we're meant to be here on planet Earth. Adding more spiritual food for thought, Venus is at Step 16, Aquarius, and 16 adds to a 7. 7 is spiritual once again. With Venus at Step 16, Aquarius today, that tells me we are opening up to our spiritual calling, and not just our spiritual calling, but our spiritual calling in the highest vibration or vision of our life, Aquarius. So if today feels sort of heavy, it's ironic. It's actually because the universe is trying to get you to lighten up. Now with emotions, the moon is in Libra today and in the early degrees of Libra. That means you emotionally might go back and forth about things. You could say the back and forth is transitioning into Capricorn, but it's likely the back and forth is some sort of decision or direction. In fact, Mercury retrograde today is at Step 14 for the next 2 days. The way I interpret that is, everyone is going to be rethinking or making a new decision or a new perspective, that is, and Mercury is squaring Jupiter and Uranus, and so what Mercury is going back and forth about, in my opinion, is what a fair deal is to us and also the definition of ourself. Uranus in Aries is having us reconsider the definition of ourself. Jupiter in Libra is pushing for a fair deal with ourself. So no matter what you're focusing on in your life in the next 24 hours, my friends, I argue you're really looking to see what is the fair deal for yourself and what does this mean for who you are and what you're doing. So I'll end this little zodiac weather with kind of a new approach I have, which is to look at the North Node each day, because the North Node is pretty much what God is telling us to do. The North Node is at 5 degrees Virgo, and so that means be mindful of the new reality today. That's how you get through today. Be mindful of the new reality. And perhaps by being mindful of the new reality, you'll understand the balance of what's fair to you and the new character of yourself. And then today's part of fortune is at step 21 Libra, and that shows me, hey, today it's time to open up to the actual new fair deal for yourself. So we're getting ready to really look at a better and more fair deal. Either way, it's a step 0 day, and step 0 always feels a little inside and a little outside, a little asleep, a little awake. It's that twilight zone between two realities. So if you feel super off, it's not you, it's probably step 0. All right, my friend, let's now transition and get ourselves a cup of tea and have our daily tea time. Hello, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. Today's tea time topic is the power of 0, or I should say the power of step 0. Now, I don't know if you've been following me for a while, but one of the things that I've discovered in my own metaphysical research is that numbers associate directly with planets, and this is where I started to understand step astrology. In my research, I uncovered that Pluto is the number 0. And it took me a while to kind of comprehend what that meant, because I'd always seen Pluto as death. And certainly you could say 0 is a number of death. There's an absence of energy there. Absolutely, 0 is nothingness. But over time, I realized that 0 is really a force field that surrounds something to protect it. And I realized Pluto and 0 has to do with protection and holding space-time. Now today, step 0 rules the day, and literally this is God's way of holding space-time between the Sagittarius vibration and also the Capricorn vibration. So there's only one day in a transit 30-day cycle where we have step 0 ruling exclusively, and it's literally the boundary in between. And that is so true also with Scorpio, Pluto, and 0. It represents a boundary between two systems, two consciousnesses, two attitudes, you name it. It is the boundary. So step 0 is the power of drawing boundaries. It is the power of holding space and time. And overall, the greatest boundary in life that there is, of course, is the boundary between life and death. So it seems obvious where Pluto became associated with death. But I also have learned in my study of 0 the power of 0. Think about it. You can have any old number like a 1 or a 2, but if you put a 0 next to it, it's suddenly a 10 or a 20. So 0, or consciousness of holding space-time, to hold and have a placeholder of space-time is future abundance. And that's what I started to realize, that 0 is your potential to manifest. 0 is your potential for abundance. And I realized this is a hidden step. Most people go running off into the street trying to manifest as soon as they can. But did they, before they attempted their manifestation, hold space, time, and create space and time for their manifestation to come true? I believe human beings inherently understand the 11 steps to serious joy. In other words, human beings understand there are 12 states of consciousness. And although we don't look at step 0 and we don't actually measure space-time, we do subconsciously all the time. Think about this. If you pick up a product or you pick up a piece of art, you can see right away if the artist or if the inventor put a lot of space and time into the product. If there's not a lot of conscious attention in that product, we know kind of intuitively that it's not worth so much. So step 0 is directly proportionate to the value of something. because the width of your zero, how much space and time you set out, creates in our consciousness value. So where this turns into a practical application for step 0 has to do with observing the amount of space-time, if any, you put into anything. So for instance, if you're trying to manifest a new career, or you really want to have a new addition to your house, how much space and time are you putting into thinking about and planning that project? Or is it just something that's on your mind all the time? How much space and time do you take for your spirit? How much space and time do you take for your feelings every day? As you can see, a lot of self-esteem issues come from people simply not taking space and time for the concepts or elements of their life that they feel are important. Because that step 0 hasn't been added, it's not valuable, and we don't feel the value. Now, step 0 also applies into protecting ourselves. For instance, if you have a fence that's 200 yards away from the house, it will take a burglar a lot of space and time to get to the house. So literally space and time serves as protection in that regard. Or, for instance, if you want to not make a mistake, well, then you want more space and time to process the idea and make sure that it is correct. Or perhaps when someone throws you off with a bizarre question, you could ask for some space and time to think about that. So step 0, space and time, the absence of consciousness, the potential for everything, this element of 0, this placeholder, is what I find causes a lot of trouble in my client's life. That they simply have not thought of the space and time necessary or taken the space and time necessary for what it is they are trying to achieve. One last little point I'll put to the power of 0 has to do with vulnerability. A lot of times when we go out somewhere and we feel a little edgy or vulnerable, it could be because people are in our space, right? People are too close to us. There's not enough space, or it would not take enough time to get over to me. So I find that we can feel vulnerable and edgy and overreact when we haven't thought about our space or haven't thought about our time. In the same sense, you could have a person who's been busy all day long, and then they're asked to go to a social event that evening, and you're really cranky. Why? Probably because you haven't gotten any space and time, step 0, for yourself. And so you are feeling like anyone else calling upon your needs in that moment is almost robbery or crossing a line, when in fact you simply haven't taken the step 0 time for yourself. So today in this bizarre step 0 day, take a little space and time to think about whether or not you take a little space and time. It really is our only luxury on earth, time and space. And I do believe that's why we came to this 3D reality, because we want a little space and time from heaven and everything. All right, my friends. Well, I hope you have a terrific beginning of Capricorn Day. Do remember, for those who are interested, I'm holding a reading sale right now where you can get $50 off a 1 hour and $25 off of a half-hour reading. For more information, come to ateki.me. I do have availabilities available right on the inside of 2017, so it's a good time to do a yearly checkup and see what's coming for you around the corner. I hope you have a wonderful day. Remember, I love you, and live, love, be.
Live, love, be.